you work with heating, cooling, dehumidification. Why is that so important for a grower to really get that aspect right?
Well, 20 years ago, when people were making lots of money on cannabis, it didn't matter to be the most efficient. It was important, but they were making so much money that they were like, well, whatever, we're going to keep making money. But now, to be successful, you got to think about how can I grow a pound for the cheapest amount of input. And with our hydronic systems, it's the highest efficient way you could heat a greenhouse as well as cool a greenhouse and dehumidify. It also centralizes everything. So you have a main power plant. A lot of people, they like to just hang up unit heaters. The problem with that is you got 30 unit heaters in your greenhouse, and that's 30 things you got to service, 30 gas lines you got to run. Why not just have a centralized power plant doing that?
Hey yo, we put free money where the mic is. He got it on lock like Rikers. Green rebates get you paid, so a lot of people like us. Money Talks Podcast, watch it on all your devices. Woo!
So welcome back to the Money Talks Podcast. I'm sitting here with a fellow 707 Sonoma County native from Petaluma to Sonoma. Sam, how you feeling today?
Good, man. My family's actually lived in the same neighborhood of Petaluma for over 100 years.
That's crazy.
They had a chicken ranch in our neighborhood. They sold the property. I didn't get any money from that, but regardless, we've been in the same area forever. You go to the Buckhorn in Petaluma, there's a picture of my Uncle Sam on the wall. So, real local type stuff. And
it's because your family values it's very important to you and your company because your dad owns BioTherm, right?
Yeah, so BioTherm started in Petaluma, California in 1980. It was actually my dad's neighbor that started the company. He was 17, and the neighbor, the guy across the road started the company, and then in '89 my dad took over the company and has transformed it into his own thing.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, family's everything.
So when did BioTherm become like a cannabis company? When did it work with cannabis cultivators?
I'd say somewhere maybe 2007. Forever Flowering Greenhouses got us involved in the cannabis market, and we were worried about our traditional hort customers being upset, so they kind of white labeled and renamed some of our products because we didn't want to be associated with that. And then as time went on, we saw it's pretty fruitful and the culture shifted. We weren't afraid to say, hey, we'll help you if you want to grow tomatoes, lettuce, cannabis, poinsettias, anything you want to do in a greenhouse, we'll give you the tools to be successful.
Awesome. So what's the main thing you've learned about cultivation since starting with BioTherm? I mean, you were kind of your whole childhood, I feel like you were born at grows, right? Like you probably were, your first memory was at a tomato farm or whatever. But what's the main thing you've learned and what fascinates you most about cultivation?
Well, when we say cultivation, I think of cannabis. It's a very cannabis word, but if you're talking plants in general, growers are resourceful and very handy, and they make it work. And and we're there to hold their hand. There's times where a system goes down at 10 p.m. and I'm on call with tech support. And hey, Joe, can we help this guy out? They need heat now. It's Chicago. It's cold. I don't know. That's a hard question. What have I learned?
Yeah, it's what haven't you learned? I guess So. When did you start working professionally? When was that moment where you went from just being the owner's son to actually being an employee, and what was that transition like?
Well, when I was 15, my dad, he didn't want me smoking pot and messing around with my friends as much. So he's like, hey man, you got to come work for me in the summer. You got too much free time. So I'd ride my bike from Petaluma to Roanoke Park every day and work in the warehouse. And so that was a summer job always for me, was just basic stuff in the warehouse. But then actually a real legit employee when I was 19. I was working on a dairy farm in Petaluma 7 days a week, every day. Cows don't know what day it is. Doesn't matter if you're sick, you got to feed the cows. And my dad was like, man, you got to have your own life too. So he said, how about you come work for me? We got this cool new dissolved oxygen system I want you to help manage. So then I got into sales doing DO, dissolved oxygen systems, and it was a struggle being 19, trying to be real professional, going to these events, and it sounds crazy, but then a year and a half down the road, I said, hey Dad, can I work in the warehouse? He thought I was crazy, but I said, I don't know. I want to learn the business from the ground up, and I think having a better understanding of all the individual pieces of what we do would be beneficial. So I worked in the shop for 4 years doing forklift stuff, shipping and receiving, production, kind of everything there is to do. Work from the bottom up. I'm a hands-on guy. I liked working manual labor. It's fun. If it was up to me, I'd throw hay bales around still. And then fast forward 4 years of that, I said, hey, I'm ready to give sales a crack, Dad. And it just so happened we needed a new Midwest rep, and I had moved to Colorado. So I've been living in the Fort Collins area the last 4 years, and it worked out perfect because Denver is a quick flight anywhere in the Midwest. So now, that was 3 years ago now that I've been doing sales again. So I've done sales twice, but now with all the knowledge I gained of our parts, I'm a lot more confident in talking about our equipment.
Yeah, awesome. And why is it, you work with heating, cooling, dehumidification? Why is that so important for a grower to really get that aspect right?
Well, 20 years ago, when people were making lots of money on cannabis, it didn't matter to be the most efficient. It was important, but they were making so much money that they were like, well, whatever, we're going to keep making money. But now, to be successful, you got to think about how can I grow a pound for the cheapest amount of input. And with our hydronic systems, it's the highest efficient way you could heat a greenhouse as well as cool a greenhouse and dehumidify. It also centralizes everything. So you have a main power plant. A lot of people, they like to just hang up unit heaters. The problem with that is you got 30 unit heaters in your greenhouse, and that's 30 things you got to service, 30 gas lines you got to run. Why not just have a centralized power plant doing that? I always tell people, hey, if we were to teleport you right now to Holland, you won't see one unit heater. Everything's hydronics there because they don't have the luxury of cheap natural gas like we do. And so we learned from the Dutch in a way, took their ideas and brought it here to North America in a sense, just to demonstrate, efficient growing, and putting the heat at the root zone is the most efficient way you can heat an environment. Wow. I brought it, I think I've left it, it's all right. We have this roll and grow sample. We take hydronic tubing, small little 1/4-inch hose, and we weld it to a weed mat or mesh in our factory in California. And you roll that out on the bench or the ground, your plants go on it, and you keep a nice warm root zone. You're putting the heat where it matters. You're not blowing the hot air up here hoping to get down here. And so root zone temps everything for plants. Any grower will tell you the same thing. Root zone temp's the most important. We might as well do it the most efficient way.
Hell yeah, man.
And sorry to cut you off. If a grower was to get our root zone heat with a condensing boiler, we can actually give them free CO2, which that's a game changer. I had a customer, they were spending $150,000 a year on CO2. With our CO2 system, it only costs them about $60,000 to make that CO2. This is a large indoor. So in 1 year, they saved $90,000 to make their own CO2, and now they free up space. They're not storing it. It's just passive CO2 that blows into the rooms.
Wow. So what's so you work with growers across the country then, even across the world.
Yeah,
but,
and across the world.
Yeah.
We got projects in the Middle East.
Holy crap. So what are growers, let's say Europe, let's say in like Amsterdam or Northern Europe, what are some exciting things that they're doing that maybe growers in the States need to adapt to, or need to pick their, what's the word I'm looking for?
Automation and a full hydronic system. I haven't seen any cannabis grows in Europe, so that's hard to say. But for like floral production, a lot of those guys, they do slab heat, heated concrete, and then they have a boom that comes over and waters the plants. And I go to a lot of places and people are hand watering, and that's fine, but it's not lucrative. It's more people you got to pay.
Right.
And the more automation you can have, the better off you're going to be.
Right. Awesome. So where can people, for people who want to learn more about BioTherm, where could they find you guys? Are you guys active on social media?
Yeah. So we got the BioTherm Solutions Instagram. My name's BioTherm Sam on Instagram, and our website's BioTherm Solutions. We got a lot of great YouTube content, tons of grower stories and testimonials. And some of these people we've worked with, you know, since the 80s. You know, one of our customers, Plant Peddler, they've been working with us since the 80s, and we're 40 years now. We're still working with them, and that's a lot of our customers. You know, become like family, really.
Right. It's awesome, man. Well, keep doing your thing. I've seen you at pretty much every single event, so you're doing something right. And here's to many more years of success. And it'll be exciting when you take over the company, and you know, and your kids are working for you. So.
Yeah, I'm really blessed to be where I'm at, you know, and I'm really appreciative of my dad to have given me this opportunity. I'm just happy to be here right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. Stay grateful. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for sitting down.
Thank you so much.